We'd like to thank Montecito Bank and Trust for their generous support in making Scam Squad possible. I'm Patty Teal.
And I'm Deputy District Attorney Vicki Johnson. Scam Squad is up next.
Sound off.
1, 2.
Sound off.
3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scam Squad.
Welcome to Scam Squad. It's so nice to have you here again, Vicki. What do you have for us today?
Hi, Patty. Well, always glad to talk to our listeners about scams happening here in Santa Barbara. And I may have talked about this one before, but I wanted to tell our listeners about a rental scam that's going on right now here in the county.
It's always good to be reminded, especially if these are scams happening right now.
And this one is. I got a phone call on my fraud hotline from someone who I'll call Fred. So Fred is a landlord, and he had an apartment that he wanted to rent, so he listed the property on Zillow. A few days later, he got a phone call from a prospective tenant who had some rather disconcerting information for Fred. Apparently, this prospective tenant had seen the same ad, the very same ad on Craigslist at a very favorable price. So she drove by to see the property and then got suspicious.
So, Vicki, what made her suspicious?
Well, the price that was listed on the Craigslist ad was just too good to believe for that particular apartment in that particular location. So she decided to contact the tenant who was living there, and from that tenant she got Fred's information, Fred being the landlord. So she gave Fred a call, and as it turned out, the ad she had seen on Craigslist was for Craig's apartment, but with different contact information, not Fred, and for a monthly rental that was about half of what Fred was asking.
That would be disconcerting, to find out that your property, unbeknownst to you, is advertised on a completely different site with a different rental price and different contact information.
That's right. So this is a typical rental scam. Crooks will either steal a listing, including any pictures, and advertise the property on another website, often Craigslist, or they'll simply make up a listing, or they'll simply make up a listing for a property that doesn't exist, or that does exist, but it isn't really for rent.
How can scammers get away with this? Don't prospective tenants want to see the property?
Yes, of course they do. So if you are a prospective tenant and you call the scammer, he'll always have an excuse as to why he can't meet you in person to show you the property. Could be that he lives out of town, his mother who owned the unit just died and he's renting it for her, etc., etc. So he'll give you the address to drive by, and if you like it, all you have to do is send him the deposit and he'll mail you the keys.
That does sound like a red flag, the out-of-town landlord.
The out-of-town landlord is one big red flag, but there are others. For example, if you drive by the home and the sign out front from a realtor or property manager doesn't match up with the so-called landlord you've been talking to, that's very suspicious. Now, if you question the scammer about this, he'll just say that he fired his property manager but hasn't had a chance to change the sign.
These scammers always seem to have an answer for everything. They're very prepared.
That's right, Patty, because this is really how they make a living. Also, be suspicious if the scammer asks for a security deposit, but it's not the full amount most landlords would ask for. And you might be told, well, you can pay the rest later.
Most landlords ask for the first and last month's rent and a security deposit. So if a landlord is asking for less, be suspicious, I guess. What else should we look out for?
If a scammer asks you for a security deposit to hold the property because it's so popular and so many people are expressing interest, this is another big red flag.
Again, the scammer's trying to get you to make a quick decision before you have time to think carefully.
Right. Or if the landlord doesn't require a credit check or a rental agreement of any kind. If the landlord skips this process, you're probably dealing with a scammer.
If the person you're dealing with is willing to skip this process, I guess it's probably because they want to hurry and get your money before you catch on to what's going on.
Absolutely. They count on catching you off guard and making you make a decision quickly. Also, be suspicious if the security deposit is way too high or too low. Remember, the scammer's objective is to get as much money as they can up front before they disappear, and they will disappear. So a low security deposit is enticing, and it might cause you to throw caution to the wind. Also, Patty, another thing, don't wire money because you can't get it back.
That seems to be universally good advice. Never wire money to someone you don't know.
That's right. It's usually a scammer.
You know, Vicki, there seem to be more and more and more scams just every day. And I thank you so much, because I think the only defense that we have is to be wise to these scammers, because it doesn't seem we're going to stop them.
Sadly, that's true, Patty. And as I've said before, so many of these people operate out of the country. So we simply don't have the ability to investigate or find them or prosecute them. So really, educating is our only defense.
Right. You know, I got an email today from a friend. The email said, please call me within the next hour or two. It's really important. And I tried to call and she didn't answer. I texted, she didn't answer. So then I emailed back, is everything okay? I both called and emailed you. And she did call me back and she said her account has been hacked. And then I just looked, it's almost laughable, but the scammer emailed me back and said that she wanted to buy a birthday gift for her niece but didn't have the money, and could I help out? So it's just so commonplace anymore. It's just every day somebody is trying to scam us.
Absolutely. There's so many scams going on out there, it's hard to keep up with them all.
Yes. And Vicki, thank you so much for helping us to be cautious and helping us to know what to be on the lookout for. And how would people get a hold of you if they are worried about a scam or they want to report a scam to you?
They can call me at area code 805-568-2442. And once again, I'll repeat that, 805-568-2442.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I look forward to talking again next week.
Thanks, Patty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.